Let's not talk about something else that most people don't talk about. Do you know why Hillary was never, ever, ever going to be indicted? Because remember, President Obama used a pseudonym to communicate with Hillary on her private server, the private server that he claimed he didn't know existed until he heard it on the news. So if she was in violation of the Espionage Act for gross negligence, so was the president. There's no way charges could have been brought against her without charges being brought against him, and that wasn't going to happen. So it was done. It was done. It was never going to happen. And now we find out that the exoneration memo on Hillary was written before they even interviewed her. And we find out that Loretta Lynch Comey was asked by Loretta Lynch, can you please not call this publicly an investigation? Can you call it a matter? I mean, talk about the fix being in. And so all of this is out now. And I know that most of the American people get their news from a left-wing source, and young people, a lot of them get their news from these lightweight late-night comedians who now have become political pundits. I understand all of that. But enough people are aware that Republicans have a straight-faced case that this whole thing was bogus from the beginning, that there was a double standard here, that Hillary was completely exonerated when there was far more evidence of her violating the Espionage Act than there is of the president committing any kind of act of collusion. And she got a pass, and sat there and had her counsel with her, who also should have been interviewed because her counsel was involved probably in the destruction of emails under subpoena. I mean, the whole thing's a joke. And people cannot stand Donald Trump, hate his guts. And so in order to figure out why the hell we lost this election, let's launch this investigation and try and find something. And again, if this had been Obama, if the Republicans had been so angry that a left-wing guy named Barack Obama, who wants to socialize medicine and wants to pull out of the Iraq, which most Republicans still opposed, and they wanted to make a case against Barack Obama, they could have come up with something. And if they come up with something about this country, as I said before, would be on fire. People would be surrounding the White House with pitchforks. I mean, people would be insane. You're trying to undo the election of the first black president based upon collusion, something that people couldn't even spell 6 months ago? Are you kidding me? And now after 10 months, you don't have anything, and now you're talking about money laundering and obstruction of justice, when at first you were talking about how he colluded with the Russians to throw the election? Really? That is what the left would be saying. That is what the left will be doing. And you think Black Lives Matter made an impact? Are you kidding me? And I think the Republicans have behaved quite politely considering how ridiculous this thing is. Meanwhile, the economy's perking along, stock market hitting new highs, consumer confidence off the charts, economists crediting Trump with all of this. And there's a new study that came out from the Heritage Foundation, this is before the tax cuts kicked in, about how much more free this country is economically and how it slipped economically under Barack Obama in 8 years, and now it's begun to recover its stature as a free market nation. And all of this is due to Trump's policies. But he's incompetent. He's a bad guy. He's got to go. Have you seen the poll numbers of Theresa May lately, or of Merkel lately, or of Macron, or of Justin Trudeau? Come on. Joy Reid of MSNBC Hee Haw said that Donald Trump keeps acting like this MSNBC gang is some big deal. Only people who watch Fox News would even know about MS-13. Really? We're going to be talking about that. And did Michelle Obama go on the Ellen show and make a fib about Melania? You might remember when they exchanged greetings about a year ago at the White House. Melania brought a Tiffany box and handed it to Michelle. Michelle acted like it was an inappropriate breach of protocol, and Michelle looked all around and tried to find somebody to hand the box to, and she goes on Ellen's show and talks about all this, but then it turns out that, well, there's a twist, and I'll tell you about that in just a few minutes. Also, for Trump haters, you might want to turn down your radio. In the Rasmussen poll, Trump's approval rating is almost now 50%. Now, the Rasmussen poll has always given Trump higher ratings, but we're looking at how the Rasmussen poll has measured him year to year, and year to year, what's been happening. Now, I mentioned to you about the economy. 200,000 jobs were created. The experts were estimating 180,000. I've told you before, it takes about $175,000 jobs just to break even with the number of people who are coming on the job market, offset by those who are leaving the job market. So, in my opinion, this is okay. But it certainly is beat what experts expected. And the big news is, and this is the big news, is that average hourly earnings have increased 2.9% on an annualized basis. That's the best gain since the early days of the recovery in 2009. Now get this. You know, the Federal Reserve is broken up into districts, and the Atlanta Fed has put out a prediction, a forecast, and they expect that GDP to surge 5.4% the first quarter of 2018. If that's the case, it'll be the best quarter since the so-called Great Recession ended in 2009. The previous highest was the third quarter of 2014, which was 5.2%. And according to CNBC, the Atlanta Fed projection, quote, has shown to have reliability issues in the past. In particular, the models, and it talks about how sometimes it doesn't work. So who knows? I'm just saying that this is a member of the Federal Reserve, the Atlanta Fed, and their prediction is that GDP could surge to 5.4%. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Nancy Pelosi seemed a little confused about who's president from time to time.
This is a cover-up by the Republicans to protect President Trump in this investigation.
You know, it's easy to get them confused. All presidents look alike. Nancy Pelosi says the term chain migration is racist.
Look what they're doing with family unification, making up a fake name, chain. They like the word chain. That sends tremors through people.
Didn't Harry Reid also use that same term, chain migration, when he was complaining about illegal immigration? And the senator from New York, Kirsten Gillibrand, has added a ED to it to make it chained migration, which is not exactly what the term was, but chained migration makes it sound more racist.
I think a lot of President Trump's rhetoric is racist. When someone uses the phrase chained migration, it is intentional in trying to demonize families, literally trying to demonize families and make it a racist slur. It is not right.
The well-known political pundit, Dr. Phil, went on late-night program and told us who he apparently suspects will be a better qualified person to run for president.
Well, you know, everybody saw the wonderful speech she gave, and I think they responded to the fact that she has really statesman-like qualities, right? I mean, she presented herself well. She was very measured, very effective in her speaking, and I think everybody responded to that as you would expect. What people don't know about Oprah is how well-read she is, how well-versed she is on world events, and how really well-prepared she would be for that job.
If she wanted to do it.
If she wanted to do it, she would really be actually prepared for it, as opposed to others that might not be prepared for it. I'm not mentioning names.
Now, doesn't Oprah have some sort of financial interest in his show and vice versa? I mean, doesn't he essentially work for her? Isn't that how it works? And so he goes on the show and gusses up to her, and really? Isn't that kind of like brown-nosing the boss? I wonder what Dr. Oz thinks. I wonder what Bill Nye, the science guy, thinks. I mean, let's just bring in these guys. I wonder what the guy that does the Colonel Sanders commercials think. I mean, really? Honestly? When we come back, did Michelle tell a fib about Melania on the Ellen show? And did the fib become obvious when there's videotape showing that Michelle showed up with a Tiffany package herself and tried to give it to Melania? And so when Michelle said, no one ever gives a Tiffany box like that, and you did it yourself, and there's video showing it, isn't that a little bit, unfair, hypocritical, double standard? don't want to use the L word, but certainly inappropriate, unwarranted. I'm Larry Elder.
You're listening to the